Hello and welcome to another edition of LA Roundtable, where we devote a full hour of discussion to one issue that affects Los Angeles and Southern California. In-depth discussion. I'm Dave Bryan, political reporter at KCAL 9 and CBS 2, and the host of the Roundtable on LA City View 35. Our topic for this hour is the new Wild West of electronic journalism, the Internet, versus the mainstream media, sometimes called the MSM. They're competing for viewers, readers, and advertisers, and the competition is intense. The recent story about Mayor Antonio Villaraigosa's extramarital affair increased tensions between the Internet operators and the MSM. The new breed of Internet bloggers and reporters feel the mainstream has become too slow, too stodgy, too co-opted, and too politically correct to find and report the news. But mainstream journalists argue there's nothing slow and stodgy about doing the sometimes tedious work of digging out the facts. They say Internet bloggers sit back and take pot shots at more traditional journalism, while they make no distinction between rumor, innuendo, and facts. We'll hear all the arguments on both sides, and we'll talk about where all this is going. Are your TV news and your daily newspaper headed for the dustbin of history? We've got a great roundtable panel. Let me introduce them to you. First, someone who most of you who watch early morning TV know very well, Eric Spillman, who reports news from wherever it's breaking every morning on KTLA Channel 5. Bill Boyarsky, a member of the Los Angeles City Ethics Commission and a former reporter, columnist, and editor for many years at the LA Times. He also writes a blog on laobserve.com. Eric Longobardi, the founder, co-editor, and chief investigative reporter at the Enterprise Report on the Internet at ersnews.com, which claims to have broken some of the story about the mayor's extramarital affair before the MSM got a clue. And Luke Ford, the founder and driving force behind LukeFord.net, who engaged in a brief but sometimes intense public debate with our own Eric Spillman about who did a better job on the mayor's affair story, the web journalists or the mainstream media. Eric and Luke, are you saying that it's time for people to essentially, get rid of the TV news and the fish wrap every day and get their news from the Internet?
Oh,
Has that day come?
Absolutely not. Each medium does things better than the other. So we need both the newspaper and print, we need TV, we need radio, and we need Internet, and they all have their advantages and disadvantages.
Eric?
I think actually the reality is that mainstream media is moving to the Internet, and the Internet is a whole new avenue for the mainstream media. And there's CBS.com, there's ersnews.com, there's everybody.com. So I think it's a convergence of everybody's moving towards the Internet, because the old world used to be one outlet, very few gatekeepers, and now anybody with a computer and access to the web can disseminate their news and stories and whatever you want to call it to the public, and that's what people are doing.
Well, I'm glad to see we're starting on a conciliatory note. I have a feeling it's not going to stay there, but are we all just one big happy family?
Well, in a sense, I think we are. I mean, I hate to break it to you. That, I think there's a place for blogs. I think they bring important information. They kind of goad the traditional media into covering certain stories that we might not cover. They're like a graffiti wall that you can look at and see what's going on. Are they a replacement for publications like the LA Times or TV stations? No, of course not. They're not, and they shouldn't be looked at that way. But they do have an important role to play, and we've seen that in the recent coverage of the mayor's affair, that story.
Bill, you're kind of on both sides.
Well,
I've had a long career at the LA Times.
I'm a mainstream media veteran, and now I write for LA Observed, which is a blog that concentrates on LA media and political news. And I also write for Truthdig, which is a political blog, and I write about national affairs on that. So that's much of my writing, and of course the Jewish Journal. I write there once a month, which is print and online. I think that having been in the Internet world now for a year and a half, especially, and I work at home, so I spend a huge amount of time reading blogs. I really do. On the negative side, let me start on the negative side so the show's more interesting. There's a meanness of...
Thank you.
There's sort of a mean-spiritedness on the part of the bloggers, sort of a hostile mean-spiritedness, and I think it's because on the internet you have to have an edge. I mean, if you're boring and bland, you're not going to get any clicks, and then that's very important. So I think there is a mean-spiritedness. Secondly, a lot of the material is secondary material that they get from traditional sources of the newspapers. However, what it's done is really made things. It's opened up the whole news business, and my own experience is a perfect example of that. Okay, I'm on the City Ethics Commission. I've been on there for 4.5 years. Okay, the press, the mainstream press, doesn't cover us very much because what we do, it's pretty hard to make a story out of. And I get up there and I get mad about something that they're doing, and my colleagues are doing, and so I start in on a rant that I think is pretty good, very well thought out and colorful, speaking in good sound bites, and it's never printed. And my colleagues, the way to treat somebody like me is to ignore me, like a kid at the party, or something. And so they ignore me, so it would just go into nowhere. So this went on, and something really important happened, I thought it was, and same thing happened. So I emailed Kevin Roderick, who runs LA Observed, and who's my longtime friend and colleague from the LA Times. Yeah. And I said, I am really mad. I just want to blog for you. I want to write for you. So I started doing it. And now I'm able to I'm able to express myself and my thoughts, which sometimes are important, sometimes aren't, out there. Otherwise, I'd never be heard. Tree falling in the middle of the forest.
Yeah. Well, are you guys mean-spirited?
Oh, I certainly am, a lot of the time.
And proud of it?
No, not at all proud of it. Totally self-loathing about it, because I know that I'll sit down there and hammer away at the keyboard, be quite the keyboard warrior. Then when I go out and have to actually meet the person in the flesh, I'm trembling in my boots. I'm the biggest wimp in the world. I swear to myself that I'll never be so gratuitously nasty again. So there's something about sitting at home, being not married, not having a boss, not really being accountable to anyone, and just being disenfranchised and quite ticked off about it. And so I'm just angry. And so the anger is what fuels most of my blogging. If I'm not angry, why would I go to my website and blog? I mean, I'm go to the beach.
So it's personal for you?
Yeah, a lot of the time. It's like it's taking all those really horrible parts of me, the lustful, angry, spiteful, jealous, vicious, gratuitously nasty parts of me, and try to channel it into doing something good. So if I get angry about something, and then if I can discipline that anger so that the words are sharply drawn and accurate and fair, then I can use all those horrible things that drive me into doing something good.
So you're not apologizing for it. You're saying you convert that into something positive.
I apologize for some of it. Some of it I go over the line. You have to see, I don't have a boss. So imagine you didn't have a boss, no editor, and you could just sit there and write anything you like, and you're not married, and you don't have kids, so that you're free. You don't have those entanglements. And so it's very easy to cross the line, and I've done it a ton. But also sometimes I manage to discipline it and keep it within the line. So I think the stuff that I do that is good, deserves praise. The stuff that I do that's bad deserves, a wallop.
Well, the web is the workplace for both of you guys, the World Wide Web. But Eric, you do things a little bit differently than what Luke does.
Yeah, like Bill, I'm a traditional mainstream media. I've been a broadcast producer for a long time, an investigative journalist, but I'm new to the web, and so I still work on both sides of the line. But I'd take issue with it a little bit in terms of, there's the New York Post, there's tabloid TV, there's everything else. In all mediums, those issues and those kind of approaches are all there. And in the mainstream media, I think anyone would agree that the way it's been going in recent years has been